All right, Rurouni Kenshin is back with Season 2, Episode 13, and this is the one where we have Aoshi versus Okina. He has reached the point of true darkness within his soul, and Okina has vowed to take him down. The culmination of that is in this episode, and I thought they did a really great job handling the fight sequence in itself and also building up the emotion of Misao running to the location. I do think that part in particular with Misao at the very end was done better in the 90s version. But as the series has been doing many times, it has expanded the fight sequence. So I think the actual battle, the combat between Aoshi and Okina was done way better in this newer version. A lot more intricacy to it. They added a lot more fluidity, a lot more movement to it, and just made the fight feel a little bit more climactic than before. But let's start from the very beginning, because we do have a brief scene between Kenshin and Seijiro Hiko, who did decide that he is going to train Kenshin and teach him the final techniques of Hiten Mitsurugi. But here in the beginning, I love that he's just kind of fucking with him. You know, like, Kenshin is so overly determined and overly serious to learn this final technique, and it's almost as if Hiko is just kind of running through the basics with him. Like, you're focusing too much on this, you're not paying attention to where your opponent might do something that you can't read, you know, you're relying too much on reading your opponent's next move. I can just kick you, I don't have to swing a sword, even if I'm holding a sword. Like, he's running through all this basic shit, and what I find interesting about it is that sometimes you need the basics kind of taught to you again, you know, after you've advanced so much, because I would say, even though Kenshin is not technically, like, mastered his style, I would consider him a master swordsman, you know what I mean? And it's so funny that he's so far along that sometimes he forgets the most basic stuff, or, like, you know, the technique of the double Batojutsu that he used to defeat Janae. He thinks that Hiko's going to do that against him, but he does a reverse of it. And so just these little tips and tricks I kind of like. And it also does show us the power difference between the two characters as well. We think Kenshin, you know, Kenshin is one of the most powerful characters of the entire series, but Hiko, being this legendary master swordsman that he is just that much better, and he goes to showcase that here. Other than that, the episode really does focus primarily on the Aoshi storyline, which I really enjoyed. I always say he's kind of the wild card of this arc, and he's temporarily joining forces with Shishio, even though he doesn't, you know, care about Shishio's plans or ideals or anything that he's attempting to do. He's pretty much just here for Kenshin, for the Batosai, for him to show up eventually. So they send a bunch of owls, you know, these ninjas, out to Okina, and they think that they're going to gather some information about them, and Aoshi's just like, yeah, okay, good luck. And Okina shows that he is not one to be fooled with. So these ninjas, you know, they come into the hotel, they start doing their thing, and already they're all knocked out by the other members. Okina wakes up, you know, takes this guy and decides he's going to get information out of him, and he tortures him pretty badly, actually. And it's something to be aware of, that, yeah, the Oniwaban members, you know, even these members that are here just kind of chilling, you know, running the hotel, cooking, whatever, like, they're all formidable in their own ways. Like, the 4 extra characters, you know, we never really get too in-depth with them or anything, but I like that this episode and this moment shows you that, yeah, they knocked out all those ninjas. Like, they're not going to have any chance in here, right? And with Okina, too. So, in the 90s version, he does also torture him for information, but you don't see it. You don't see any of it here either, but you don't even see what he does with the candles. Like, it's sort of, I don't know what this is. This is probably a real torture technique, but he basically put, like, nails and candles over this dude's hands and melted the candles so that, like, the hot wax is going on top of his hands, on top of having the nails driven into his hands. Insane. But probably would get a lot of information out of somebody. So, yeah, shout out to Okina, and it shows how formidable he is. The only thing that is at Okina's detriment is just the fact that he's an older man. You know, he's past his prime. And unfortunately, that means that even though he may have the skills to take down Aoshi, you know, we're witnessing a Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson kind of match here. It's like, yeah, maybe in his prime, you know, he would have taken down Aoshi no problem, but the unfortunate fact of the matter is he is an old man. Aoshi is in his prime, and Aoshi has this unshaken, unwavering drive to fulfill what he wants to accomplish in killing and defeating Batosai, that even other members of the Oniwaban group he is willing to take down. So he has absolutely fallen from grace, and he decides to meet up with Okina, and they have their fight. The fight was done very, very well. Like I said, I think the choreography and the expansion of the fight, as this new Kenshin anime has been doing, it's been expanding a lot of the major fights, which is really cool to see new sequences and new choreography with it. So I got nothing bad to say about that. He's using the steel tonfas, which I think is really cool also because, again, I'm not like a martial arts, wizard or anything, but I like the idea of the tonfa because it very much is defensive. It's a little bit more of it feels less aggressive, at least, than having an actual blade. It's something to kind of defend and counter as opposed of just slicing through somebody. So it kind of, again, shows the thematic difference between the two characters at this point, where Aoshi has these two kodachis, and he's even saying, like, there's nothing I can't slay, there's nothing I can't cut through, and that's kind of his drive, his mental state right now, where he's just going to cut through everything, friend or foe, to do what he wants to do. Whereas Okina is more of the nurturer. He's been raising Misao on his own. He's running the hotel, so he's very much more like defensive. And so I like that kind of difference between their fighting styles. And even for Okina's age, he's doing really well against Aoshi. You know what I mean? Like, in his prime, he probably would have defeated him, but unfortunately, he just can't hold up to him. He doesn't have the endurance, and Aoshi's got some new techniques of his own, and ultimately, Aoshi cuts through him. I thought the sequence was done very well, where it shows his kind of double kodachi, kaiten kenbu, as it's called. I remember all this terminology from the 90s series. Kaiten kenbu, rokuren. Yeah. But anyways, so he slices through Okina, and it's pretty violent. Like I said, more violent than the 90s. Like I said, the 90s Kenshin series was unfortunately, censored a lot for the time period, probably the time that the show was airing as well. So there's not as much violence, not as much gore in that series. But here, that doesn't seem to be a problem. It has never seemed to be a problem for the new series. So, we really see Okina get cut into and fall. But it just so happens to happen at the same time Misao finally reaches the location. And we know history between Misao and Aoshi, and we know that Misao is in love with Aoshi, but this is the first time in the series that we see them face to face. So far it's just been flashbacks or talked about. She's been searching for him this entire time, and the first time, like, this is how significant this is, like, the first time she actually sees Aoshi after all this time searching for him, after all this time, having this idea of him in her head, of somebody that she loves and remembers from the past, and somebody she can't wait to see again. Her first time seeing him is him cutting through her basically surrogate grandfather, the person that raised her, and having him fall to the ground. And we don't see the aftermath in this episode, but it's a really, really powerful moment for Misao, and will definitely play a pivotal role in her development. Now, the other scene that we get is between Shishio and Hoji, where I really like this moment too, where Shishio asks Hoji if he believes in hell, and Hoji's like, no, I don't, I think that we just rot in the ground and yada yada. And Shishio's like, well, I do believe in hell, and I believe that we're experiencing it right now. And he talks about how his body temperature has risen since being burned, and there's definitely fantasy elements here, but I like the idea of it, that he just can't stop the burning within his own body. He doesn't have sweat glands anymore, so he can't, manage his heat through the act of sweating, which will come into play in the future as well, but it's something that keeps his body temperature at an abnormally high level, and yet he's somehow able to survive. In many ways, Shishio is the ultimate survivor. He's been betrayed, he's been shot, he's been burned, but there's just this maybe similar to Aoshi in a way, but in a different way. Not for vengeance, really, but just for his ultimate ideals to come true. There's something literally burning inside him that will not allow him to die. Like, he must accomplish his goals no matter what. And, he takes his hand and he's, burns Hoji's head, basically giving him this baptism of fire to recognize that this is hell. And if it is hell, you know, I will bring in a new regime and I will be the one to lead this country to victory. Like, the people in charge are weak, they're pathetic, they don't deserve to be, they're scoundrels, they're liars, they're hypocrites. I am honest about everything that I do. You know, this is Shishio's philosophy, is that, you know, it's the strong will live, the weak will die. You know, I deserve, because of my strength, because of my survival, because of my skill, because I am the most competent, I deserve to be the leader of this country. And he really believes that. And anything else is hell. And if it is hell, he'll rule in hell, you know? So really powerful stuff with Shishio that I love. So this episode was great. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next one. I think we're going to get the return of two of my favorite characters in the next episode, hopefully. So I'll be looking forward to that. Let me know what you thought of this episode down below. What did you think about the fight between AOSHI and OKINA? And where do you see it, if you're a first-time Kenshin watcher, where do you see it moving forward? Thanks for watching, as always, guys, and see you next week.